What are the 10 most livable cities in the world, and which ones sit at the bottom of the pile? This week, the 2026 edition of the famous Global Liveability Index dropped, and for journalists, podcasters, and content people everywhere, it's the gift that keeps on giving, a topic guaranteed to make everyone either smug about where their city landed or furious that they've been snubbed. And if your city is somewhere in the bottom 150, you're probably less concerned with having a hip, livable city and more concerned with having a city that you can literally remain alive in. Now, as hip, upwardly mobile cosmopolitan men from middle-class families, John and I have spent a combined 60-plus years living in and between cities in this year's top 10, and we've set foot in most of the others, which makes this the perfect opportunity to ask, how much do we actually want to live in the cities deemed worthy by something called the Economist Intelligence Unit? But I can't explore how to live in a city alone. I'm gonna need a man who is so smug about the eternal appearance of his own city, Melbourne, on every one of these lists time after time, that he has his home filled with framed printouts of the ranking arranged in what he calls the corridor of livability, and who once described Vienna's edging out of Melbourne's place from the number one spot in 2018 as a dark day for humanity. John, are you ready to defend the honour of Melbourne and its rich history of success in the world's most livable cities lists, sir?
Yeah, I am. I'm very proud of my city, and I'm very proud that, as you say, something called the Economist Intelligence Unit, an organisation that I once applied to work for.
No way.
We can get into that perhaps many years ago. But due to the unlivability of London, I was late for the interview and didn't get the job.
No way.
But there you go. That was a foreshadowing event for me, and I swore there and then that I would get to live in a frictionless place where mishaps like that would never occur. And now here we are. I'm attired this way, my Billabong shirt.
Oh yeah, for the watchers of the video.
Yeah, I've got a slightly loud outfit on because I'm coming to you live from Townsville, the gateway to far north Queensland. Townsville was pipped from this year's 10 most livable cities. But I'm up here just spreading the good word about some of its southern sister cities, Melbourne and Adelaide, which also made the list.
Yes.
So we can get into that. I'll take my glasses off now because I just thought that would be a fun intro, but it's quite antisocial. We can get into that. I mean, the question on my lips as I read this list is, should we embrace the unlivable, and do the things that make a city livable make it a desirable city to live in? And you might think, as we go down the list, about some of the great cities of humanity that are absent from this list and why the Economist Intelligence Unit didn't consider them livable, and therefore how much value that judgment really has. The people of Melbourne, of course, are very hungry for plaudits, and they don't ask those sorts of questions. But they just use it. They just say, well, most livable means best or best city. The end.
Number one best city in world.
Number one best city in world, and
can brag at the hostel. Can brag at the hostels all over the world. Yeah,
and unlike Vienna, we weren't a laboratory for some of the worst ideas of the 20th century. So we got that on them. I don't care how good your light rail is. You got a dark past.
You created that man. You birthed that man that nobody likes.
Yeah.
You bet the archetype for the worst.
We'll get panned by the algorithm.
How'd you get most livable city? We're still within 100 years of you creating the world's worst man.
Exactly.
You should still be paying the price for that. I should also give a shout out to my friend James. I was in London last week and we were talking about this world's most livable cities list. He might have brought it up and he said, man, that's a cast idea right there. You've got Melbourne and Adelaide in the top 10. He said, this writes itself. And I said, oh, James, you're so right. So shout out to James. He absolutely had the idea, and it does
James.
make sense because we both come from and also you in the case of Melbourne now live in cities that are in the top 10, and every year this list comes out. It's it's silly because I didn't know a lot about it until doing a little bit of research for this episode, but you do feel that, particularly as an Australian, we always feel like we're down the arse end of the world and nobody's paying attention to us. So when we get out of the livable cities, particularly Adelaide, because Adelaide's gone from this invisible city that nobody had heard of when I left to suddenly it's popping up on all these lists of a great place to go, a great place to have a holiday, a great incredible restaurants. I always tell everybody that I suddenly people that I would meet around the world who'd never been to Australia knew Adelaide from cooking shows that were on Netflix all over the world, because a lot of cooking shows go to Australia, or they're just our Australian series about cooking and restaurants, and Adelaide always features very prominently. Somebody was like, my friend Kim Chi was like, have you been to Osteria Odgie? This is a woman, this is like a Vietnamese woman from Oklahoma. And she'd never been to Australia, and she asked me if I'd been to a very specific Italian restaurant in Adelaide. And you know what's so fucking Adelaide as well is I said, you know what, Kim Chi, I haven't been there because it opened since I left, but my first cousin works there. Shout out to Henry Hollidge.
Go, of course, yeah. You never got to
at the time he did
far in Adelaide. There you go.
Yeah,
wow.
At the time he did. Now he runs a beautiful restaurant named of Long Player. So get down to Long Player on Perry Street, a beautiful place for a meal with a friend in one of the most livable cities in the world, Adelaide,
the most
Australia.
You can say. Look over at your companion and say, "Man, this is one of the world's most delicious meals in one of the world's livable cities. Aren't we blessed?"
Thank you so much.
Long Player.
Thank you so much, EIU Global Liveability Index. So yeah, it was released a couple of weeks ago as we mentioned, the Economist Intelligence Unit, which is the research arm of the Economist Group. So that publication, which
so it's a bit like how Bloomberg has its kind of slightly more, or another publication's probably the same, had their slightly more like analytics based arm. I think that's the Economist Intelligence Unit's kind of business, and they do all kinds of global ratings of. I think they're probably interested in things like corruption and places to do business and whatever. You might know a bit more about the criteria than I do, but it sort of encompasses quite broad ranging. I thought that it would be a little bit more kind of straight down the line practical, but it does incorporate things like arts and culture and access to things that people will enjoy, as well as things like education, infrastructure, sort of general quality of life measures and things like that.
Yes, we can get to the criteria. I have all of that in front of me. It was originally published in 2002. The current version ranked 173 cities. You get a score out of 100 across 30 indicators. Okay. Originally published 2002, and this is what I didn't know. It's a corporate tool. So companies use it to calculate the hardship allowance. So how much to pay executives for relocating
sending
somewhere not as good.
Your Shell branch head to Addis Ababa or Mogadishu.
That's right.
As opposed to sending them to Vancouver. Like how much should you give them? There you go.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess, so Melbourne won you won the first one in 2002. So you really have been kicking goals ever since this list. Vancouver, number one for 7 straight years, 2004, 2010. We'll get to Vancouver in a minute. Melbourne has been number one for 7 consecutive years, 2011 to 2018.
Oh.
Man, peak Melbourne smugness era I have here. And then Vienna, Yeah. So criteria, John. So this is interesting. So 5 major categories: stability, so 25%. We're talking crime, terror threat, and civil unrest. Melbourne's doing okay on those.
Yeah,
pretty good.
sure.
Culture and environment, 25%, includes climate scored as discomfort to travelers. So this is interesting. It doesn't rate the climate. It doesn't consider sunny days a plus. It only considers bad, so oppressive heat. It looks at how difficult the weather is.
Uncomfortable people are.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, okay.
Discomfort.
So if you got to if you can't leave your house half the year because you snowed in or whatever.
Yeah,
then you
that's
get
right.
a bad score. Okay.
Then we have here in culture and environment, we have corruption, food, sport, and censorship. Well, I'm surprised to see Melbourne, and I'm not surprised that London has been kicked out of the list for this very list right here. If you're taking censorship so seriously, well, most livable cities list. So what's not measured, John? So affordability.
Okay.
Housing quality is counted.
Not measured.
But whether or not you're able to pay for it does not.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Also, as I mentioned, no weather is lifestyle. Friendliness is they don't give a shit about that, and there's no sort of metric for fun. I guess that'd be difficult to measure, but
fun and cool.
Yeah, one man's fun. Maybe one city is the world capital of Warhammer activity, which to some men and women would just be that would make that would really be a place to live, and for others they wouldn't care so much about maybe Magic the Gathering, Warhammer.
Don't measure Magic the Gathering or LAN parties or
heavy metal music festivals.
Yeah, exactly.
Craft beer culture.
How many spontaneous meetups orchestrated online there are in a particular place?
Goth scene.
Yeah.
How much does goth scene count for?
How much cosplay is there in this city?
Very community activity.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So
kink community, kink activities and kink community. Berlin would do okay there.
Yeah, Melbourne's fit further down the pack than Berlin for sure. We're pretty bread and butter down there. We like our trams and missionary.
Yeah, the classic criticism is that the index rewards rich, mid-size, slightly boring, they say, temperate cities, and punishes big, exciting ones.
Yes. Yeah. Interesting. I mean, so I don't know, I don't want to spoil the reveal, but we can say at the very least that some of the best cities by, let's say, kind of popular culture standards, like Berlin or New York or Paris, they're not in there.
That's
Rome.
right.
And so that's always my riposte when I see smug Melbourneites with a spring in their step. I say, do you really think that that list didn't include, if it was just a best city list, you think they just forgot about Paris, do you?
Yeah.
Don't know if they did. You think they put Osaka in, but not New York? Okay.
I wonder. There must be like counter. Obviously, people love lists and publications. Love lists. There must be a timeout.
But fun.
Well, I mean, so this list does go down to 173 cities, and I'll get to them at the end because they're the fun ones. Is the bottom 5?
God! You got to absolutely. You're giving like millions of dollars in risk pay to your executive.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Like Shell is just looking and going, man, we are going to have to swallow this. But Barry's compensation is going to really not impress our shareholders at the next general meeting.
So there's no culture. It's uncomfortably hot. Taxis are basically unavailable. But Good news is we've got a big pile of money for you.
Good news is, as a competitive salary, we're going to give you $1 billion a year. Please, please go there. Please go there and get the oil out of the ground, please.
Exactly. And if you live...
Do whatever it takes.
Do whatever it takes. Yeah, and you will have to really test yourself down there. If you last a year, we'll be pleasantly surprised.
It's a builds character situation.
It's a builds character situation. That's right. Yeah, this will be one for the memoirs, Barry. Anyone can live in Vienna. What's going to happen? You're going to have a coffee and go to the opera. There's not going to be bullets whistling past your head in Vienna.
You'd be like, we've called your editor and your publisher, and they both said that it's a really good idea for your forthcoming memoir to head over there.
If you live to tell the tale, well, what a tale it'll be. But I don't know. I don't want to get you off track. But I was thinking about when you suggested, or when James, I suppose, suggested this topic. An article I read in the Irish Times a while ago. I don't know why I was reading the Irish Times, but it was a great little article about by someone named Laura Kennedy, who had come to Australia and then decided to move back to London after a while. And it really made me, at the time, think about my own experience of kind of leaving London and coming to Australia, and the idea of unlivability being in some respects, or to some extent, a good thing, and livability and it being a kind of trap. So she talked about how she'd really loved Australia and everything was really, it kind of, for her, it represented, as it does for a lot of Irish people who come here, the good life. There's sun and there's space and there's ease relative to a lot of other places and perhaps relative to what they've experienced. And she sort of said, well, eventually it's almost become too comfortable. And she said, quote, "The convenience of my Australian life made me less courageous and more inclined to stay where I was comfortable." She said, "Some internal friction, the sort we feel when making ourselves uncomfortable to achieve a goal, or when free falling into the unfamiliar, is necessary for life to feel meaningful." And she goes on to say, we tend to think of friction as something to be eliminated, but obviously it does, it adds character, it adds value to what we accomplish, etc. Which is an interesting way to think about livability. Like, to what extent is it a kind of, a bit of an opiate that leads you to, that kind of dulls your ambition because you think, I haven't really, got to kind of muscle my way into the tube. I've just got to walk 100 meters to my job and everything's pretty straightforward, and I can clock off at 4 p.m. and go to the beach, and maybe you just don't develop goals, but then maybe that's fine. I'm up here in Townsville and I'm just thinking, maybe I do just need to go to Longboards Bar and Grill at the same time every day for fish tacos.
Maybe this is preferable to the stress of your busy Melbourne commute, having to pick your daughter up from daycare, and be involved in some sort of trial, and then
do things that are kind of meaningful but hard. And I'm trying to push the family at the moment into just, let's go up north and just give up, and I'll get a job at the zinc refinery here in Townsville.
It reminds me, John, you mentioned what that article with that woman reminds me a little bit of when the Simpsons moved to Cypress Creek, when Hank Scorpio gives Homer the job, and the house is a very modern house that cleans itself and does a whole bunch of other things, and Marge becomes very depressed because she doesn't have anything to do in Cypress Creek anymore. And they thought that's what they wanted. They wanted a big house and a life that was easier. And then it turns out that wasn't the case. And it also turns out that Hank Scorpio was a super villain. Everybody wants to
call him Mr. Scorpion. It's Mr. Scorpio.
Please don't. But don't call me that either. Call me Hank. So John, we should go. We've teased the audience enough. We'll go 10 to 1. Mm-hmm. John, you've been to number 10. I have not. Wish that I could get there soon. Tokyo, the only newcomer, up 3 places on improved culture, and environmental scores, and the only mega city ever to crack the top 10. So mega cities on the rise. Let's get Chongqing in there in the next couple of years, a 35 million person Chinese city.
It is quite an achievement, isn't it? Because, the thing that, I remember going to, on that same trip I went to Tokyo, I also went to Kyoto and Osaka. And Osaka's also in the list, is it not, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, correct.
Which is amazing.
We can do that now, actually. Good point. Osaka held steady at number 7. Steady at number 7, Japan's food-obsessed capital. So
two Japanese cities in the list. But, somewhere like Kyoto makes a bit more sense because it's like, I think it's probably population-wise not that different from Adelaide. I could be terribly wrong. But it's got a kind of manageable size and scale to it. Whereas Tokyo just seems to go on and on and on forever. But it is very orderly, I guess, and stable.
Yes.
And, the weather's pretty good. The food's really good. Public transport's pretty good once you understand it, which I never could. But that's my problem, probably. I think they fixed the ATM problem that they used to have when I went there. When I went there 10 years ago, it was a kind of like, people used to talk about it as like what the future was like in the 1980s. It was kind of it had sort of peaked early. People were like, man, Japan's the way of the future. They copied a lot of Japanese ideas, but then Japan sort of fell into hard times economically. And so it had all these things like, had fast trains, but it had a really overcomplicated transit system. And when we were there, I was with a couple of mates and we had to go and line up at the post office to use the ATM. There's like the one ATM you could use in our neighborhood. But they've sorted a lot of those problems out, I understand. And now it's hitting the top 10 list.
Yeah, I think they're also I think they're no longer in the Axis powers with Germany and Italy anymore, which is good.
Yeah,
that's good as well.
That's a plus. That's a plus. I keep making inappropriate comments because we're in Townsville, which was actually bombed by the Japanese at one point. People forget about Australia.
I thought it was just Darwin.
No, it was all across the northern or various sites, Broome, Darwin and far north Queensland.
Right.
And there's a really good Japanese restaurant in Townsville. But of course, when Jacinta suggested it, I was like, we're going to just pretend that didn't happen?
John, I want to take you to number 9. I'm going to need your help because I've never been here, but you've certainly have extensive history in this country. We're talking Vancouver, Canada, up from 10, the only North American city in the top 10.
Yeah, and it's done pretty well historically, I think.
Yes, it has.
In the list. As long as you bring your bear spray, it's really nice. I'd love to go back to, I went there when I was a kid briefly, but I can't really remember it. But I hear lots of lovely things and I hear it's a beautiful place to work and study. Have you been to Canada?
No, never been to Canada. It's one of those I would love to go, but it's funny. It's one of those places. It's kind of similar to New Zealand to me, which I have now gone to, but it's a little bit similar to New Zealand where I haven't, when I've had the opportunities to go to places, I guess I always thought New Zealand is too culturally similar to Australia. So why, if I have time and money, would I go there?
Go somewhere a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, and similarly, I always just thought, Canadians will obviously hate hearing this, but I was just like, well, if I have time and money to go to North America, I'm going to go to New York. I'm going to go to American cities. But, and also, what's funny as well is people always say that Canada and Canadians are very similar to Australians, which is amazing in one respect. And I'm sure that I would love going over there and connecting. But it was also in terms of like wanting something a little bit more exotic. Also, I have my friend Jordan over here who I see all the time, and he's very, very, very Canadian. And so I feel like I'm getting enough. I'm getting enough of that.
And you're getting a bit of
that.
You're getting your Google alerts about Justin Trudeau and Katy Perry now. So you're a bit Canadianed out.
Exactly. And, I'm listening to nothing but Bryan Adams all day.
Yeah.
John... Number
poutine.
8. Number 8, Adelaide, the city of churches.
Boo.
Home of the O-Bahn, the city where the DPTM began. I was there for the first 28 years of my life. All of my family is there. I have over 50 first cousins. Actually, they're not all 50 are in Adelaide now, and in fact, a lot of them are kind of from families from Port Lincoln. Adelaide, what do you think of this, John, as the growing image, it's growing visibility, it's growing popularity? You lived there. What did you think of Adelaide as a place to live and visit?
I hated it.
It's what 1.4 million people. It's big enough to have. It's got hospitals, universities, cultural institutions, and it's not a mega city. Near perfect scores we have. Adelaide. What did you say?
I said it's shit house.
What a fucking shit. That's what I get out. So boring.
Get out of the list.
100 for healthcare, 100 for education, and around 95 for stability, and 96 for infrastructure. Malinauskas, we want to salute you.
Yeah. Malinauskas, the boys on The Rest is Politics love Peter Malinauskas.
Yeah, and I think I saw this list because he posted it on LinkedIn.
Of course, yeah. Well, now that they've stolen the MotoGP from Phillip Island.
Freaking come on. Up the crows.
And I'm sure if ex-Adelaide Crow demigod Tony Modra hadn't recovered from his recent accident, that it would have had to be removed from the list. But thankfully he pulled through. And
we would have had 0 on the Tony Modra score.
He moved to 173. And they say, look, if they can't keep a living legend like Tony safe, that place has gone to the dogs. Yeah, it does make sense. I mean, it is very easy to get around. You can go to the beaches, you can go to the hills. You got good restaurants, good wine. Cost of living is a little bit more manageable than Melb's or Sid's. So I get it.
We have 2 Swiss cities in a row. Geneva. I've been to Geneva. Shout out to Dom who took me there, because Dom is often there doing UN stuff. There's a big UN place in Geneva. It's very pretty. Cool. Man, I think it's the most expensive place I feel like I've ever been, just about. I remember that we went out for like a meal and maybe something else, and I was just like, wow, that money just evaporated straight away.
Yeah, that's what I've heard about it. I've only ever been to Ticino, the Italian speaking part of Switzerland, last year, but didn't make it to Geneva or Zurich.
Geneva, barely 200,000, a global city the size of Geelong.
Wow, there you go. Well,
sister city to Geelong. Geneva. Geelong should have the UN.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Man, that'd be good. The Ford factory and the UN. It's too much for one
Gary
city.
Ablett statue got them a lot of points. Zurich. I was in Zurich. I've been to Zurich a couple of times. I was there last year with my friend Mustafa, who lives there, and he fucking loves it. He's always trying to get me to go over, and he's lived in He's lived in a bunch of European cities over the last few years, and he has spent the most time in Zurich, and he loves it. And I can see why. Spending a weekend there, we jumped in his car, and we were just by the lake at one point, and then we jumped in his car, and within like 15 minutes, we were just driving through like snow-capped hills and mountains, and then we ended up in Lugano, which is the Italian Swiss city, and then you can just cross the border into Italy. What are you talking about? Get out. I was like, man, I could live in this get out of town. Everybody's earning eye-watering money. It's super clean. The trains all run on time, which is something that we cannot say in Germany anymore.
I know,
I get it.
Yeah, I agree. I was a bit sort of like, again, to borrow what you said earlier, I was a bit like this about Switzerland. Like, why would I go there and really I don't ski. I don't particularly like Swiss cheese. And I feel like it's pretty available now. And
also you can get Toblerone at most airports around the world.
Exactly. And people say it tastes better in Switzerland, but I'm not sure that's true. Army knives, I've already got one that's been pretty good working order. Pacifism isn't really or neutrality at least, isn't really my bag. I'm very hawkish.
That's right. A lot of these cities do not align with your hawkish values.
Yeah, that's right.
Some of the bottom ones, John will. Don't worry about that. Some of the bottom ones are going to really be the place for a hawkish man like you.
Good. Yeah. When I saw it, I thought, anyone can have a nice city if you're not willing to roll up your sleeves and get into a scrap with the rest of us. We've all just been bombing the shit out of each other for 100 years.
Down here in the 160 plus.
Yeah, exactly. But I did kind of think, this is a really well-functioning, lovely country that's kind of worked out certain, it just works pretty well. It seems.
Boy, does it work.
Yeah.
I think this is another thing, I think it's it's obviously personality type and time of your life, I'm still obviously hip and cool at 43. You can see I've cut the sleeves off my shirt. I've got a chain around my neck. I need to be in Berlin at least for now, but going to Switzerland and going to Zurich, if somebody said to me, "Oh, you got to move to Zurich tomorrow and earn pretty good money," and and just have because that Zurich lifestyle speaks to me as well. They're very kind of outdoorsy.
Yeah,
and you get up, you go for a run, and it's sort of safe and super clean. And I could absolutely. I did say to Mustafa, I was like, man, if I got a little car and I could just zip to the fucking hills, and obviously, I'm not just talking about Zurich now, but Switzerland generally. All those stunning. I forget the name of it, but Mustafa told me there's that like very famous part of Switzerland that you see all the social media videos and photos of, where it's just these huge sort of mountains with green grass on them, all running down to a stream, and then there's just cows munching on grass. It just makes you cry.
Too good to be true. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's like a Windows background, but real. Yeah,
it's wallpaper. Exactly, it's wallpaper. I live in wallpaper. I live in a Microsoft wallpaper background. Say the people of.
when I was in Lugano and Locarno, and I was just zipping around on the train to all these little cities, nearby, just thinking, this is a pretty good way to live. They've got it worked out. I think of the cities so far on the list, obviously Adelaide's excluded because I've already spent 15 years there. It's probably where I'd love to be. Zurich.
Yeah, I reckon, John,
I'm
looking at
what the difference between Zurich and Geneva is, to be honest. I don't have a strong sense.
Yeah, they're culturally different. And is it, Geneva, they speak French in Geneva. Is Zurich still like French speaking?
Is it Swiss German?
It was Swiss German in Zurich, isn't it? Yeah.
I think so.
You could pick your language.
I did actually once go to Zurich.
Or
I just remember that. Spent the night in the airport because the hostel was too expensive. And
that's true.
Yeah,
that's great.
And it was a really dumb. It was really like this was when I was in my 20s. It was a really nonsensical but cheap connecting flight. It was like I was going from, Budapest to Turkey to Istanbul via Zurich or some shit, and I spent a night there, and I was like, I don't want to spend like, hotel prices for a 16-bed room. So I just stayed in Zurich airport, and they had this thing where you were basically like partitioned off from the gate, and had a little kind of army cot style bed. It was like the lowest form of accommodation. Yeah. And it was,
but they actually did. It was like, so you paid, you paid for it?
Yeah, but it was cheap.
Okay.
And it was a kind of like, if you're too tight ass to get a proper room, but you just want like a soft surface. And so I remember like there was a kind of paper thin partition next to me, and on the other side was another guy who was snoring really loud. And I was like, maybe I should have just gone to a hostel. It was pretty shit. It
was like hurricane shelter style.
It was exactly
accommodation.
Yeah.
John, number 4. You've probably been here a bit more than me recently. I haven't been here for 20 years. Sydney. Biggest top 10 jump. It went from 6th to 4th with perfect scores in education and healthcare. 2 Aussie cities in the top 5. We'll come to the next one. 3 Aussie cities, 2 Aussie cities in the top 5. Sydney. What do you think of Sydney, John? It's very expensive, but it's expensive. People say I should have reached out to my mate Malta as well. He lives in New South Wales at the moment, but he's a German, so he has an interesting perspective on New South Wales and Sydney. I hear a lot of people say, I mean, this just might be Australia generally, but I hear a lot of, this is particular to Sydney, I hear a lot of people say that when they spend a lot of time in Sydney, it's beautiful, the weather's incredible, the harbour's gorgeous, it's the postcard of Australia, but a lot of people that I know when they spend more time there say that a lot of people just talk relentlessly about money and housing in a way that just becomes quite dull and empty quite quickly. I've heard that from several people, that it's a lot of housing and money chat.
Yeah, probably not entirely an accurate stereotype that, say, compared to Melbourne, which is perceived as being kind of a bit less flashy, a bit more kind of grungy, a bit more, people in Melbourne would say, more authentic. Sydney's perceived as the kind of pretty but dumb cousin.
Yeah.
Everything is very, very beautiful. You can go to the beach and have a lovely lifestyle. The weather's nicer, but people kind of dress more colourfully than they would in Melbourne, which has a kind of more Berlin style fashion sense in Melbourne. But Sydney, they're wearing sort of, there's a bit more conspicuous wealth there. It's like Melbourne's a bit more of a psilocybin trip, and Sydney's just a cocaine binge, really.
Yeah, I get that.
On a yacht.
That's a good description. I would love to get back to Sydney. I haven't been there since the early 2000s. I visited my auntie Jen when she used to live there. I went for the first time a year before the Sydney Olympics in 99, and then I went a few years after the Sydney Olympics, and I would love to go back. I'd love to meet those Sydney people. I would love to meet those Sydney people and get a sense of the place. It's funny. It's a place that's just never even really on my radar. Like Melbourne seems so ever present to me. You live there, but even as a kid, when I didn't really, I mean, my auntie and uncle, my auntie Michelle and Uncle Andy lived there for years. But just because of that cultural connection to Adelaide through the footy and the fact that we border one another, Melbourne is just always ever present to me, and I always feel like I know what's going on. And I don't think about Sydney at all. No, and I don't think Sydney really thinks about other places besides Sydney as much either. It's kind of, so in Australia, for those who don't know, there's a bit of a
there's a bit of a kind of football codes divide, and Melbourne and Adelaide are more Australian rules football. Sydney, they still love Australian rules football, but they're starting to get into rugby a bit more up there. And then, further north of Sydney, you're basically more and more looking at kind of people who are into rugby. I do love it though. Like it's beautiful and interesting, and it's got more of an Australian feel. I think partly because of the climate. It's sort of lush. It's subtropical. So you got this kind of big city vibe, but with like very Australian kind of nature, and very Australian, like a bit of a deeper post-colonial history than you have in Melbourne, only by 50 years or so, but it makes a difference to the way it looks. And the harbour is spectacular. Of course,
also
if you want to hear about my impressions of Sydney, we did an episode about when I had to fly up there to produce a sperm sample for for IVF purposes. So that was an interesting context in which to enjoy the city.
I wonder if you've just said that, John. I wonder if my new AI project can pull what those episodes are. Which episodes did John talk about sperm donation? We'll see.
Going in a cup.
Say that. I just say that to Claude. Claude's just getting progressively more creeped out by me. Also, we should say shout out to my friend Scott, who lived in Sydney for years. Sydney's amazing if you surf,
Yeah,
Man, people go on bloody surfing after work. Imagine that lifestyle. In the morning, get them go for a surf.
It's not just
Jump
people think about the Sydney harbour as like a harbour, but it's actually, there's tons of little beaches and little inlets and little nooks. I do envy them that.
Number 3, John, Melbourne, the ever-present city in this list. Perfect healthcare and education scores in recent editions. The eternal question, livable for whom at the current house
fucking
prices?
Suspected RSV there last week, so I think they should knock a few points
What's
off.
RSV?
It's like a respiratory virus. So they should knock a few points off the perfect health score, I'm saying.
What do you love about John got horribly sick, so I don't really know what you're talking about healthcare. John got a waterborne disease. I don't think you can drink the water over there anymore.
No, that's right.
John. What do you love about Melbourne compared to Adelaide? You lived in both.
Great question. I do love I love the kind of culture of Melbourne, which is not too different from Adelaide, but feels a bit more like it's just bigger, so there's more to it. I love that it's got all these little neighbourhood nooks, each with their own little culture, each with their own places to go out, and obviously I love the food and hospitality culture, which a lot of people do. I love the bats. I like the flying foxes, and I like the weather. It's controversial, but people say there's 4 seasons in one day. That suits me because I don't. Adelaide's a bit too hot for me, and I like the colder winters.
The small bars thing and the beautiful Victorian era shop fronts with apartments above them and the big awnings over them, I just think are gorgeous. I agree. Man, that's so Melbourne. You just end up at a little Italian restaurant on some eating out the front on some footpath under the awning and on a building from hundreds of years ago. Just love I love that. And then you find a little bar that is, the other thing that we said this a little bit on a recent episode. The other great thing about Melbourne as well is you have neighbourhoods. You're big enough that you just spend time in a neighbourhood, whereas that was just not a thing when we grew up. It wasn't like, oh yeah, where are you going out? Where are we going to go out tonight? Oh, we're going to go to Nord, or we're going to go to North Adelaide, or we're going to go to we're going to spend a night just bar hopping in Unley.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure people would do that, but you'd be like, well, there's this place or there's that place.
There's one place. There's one place and one falafel shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is hard to create a vibe.
It is. And I love the kind of, I mean, people talk about like the alleyways in the city of Melbourne, which I guess, this kind of idea that you have these little narrow alleyways dotted with cafes and whatever. And there is that. But I think for me, those suburbs where they've got this really beautiful sort of rows of Victorian era terrace houses, which all came from gold rush money. And, they've all been.
Yeah, right.
Fuck,
I didn't know that. Never made that connection.
Yeah, that's I think what gave it the edge was that, massive injection of wealth in the 19th century. And then, you can you can enjoy food from all corners of the globe. You can enjoy nature. It's got some lovely, beautiful public parks, and the river runs through it. And of course it's got Captain Cook's Cottage.
Captain Cook's Cottage and Crown Casino.
And Crown Casino, yeah. If you want to lose all your money, it doesn't matter because the next day you can go to Captain Cook's Cottage for free. It was brought brick by brick from his hometown in Yorkshire to celebrate his contribution to Australia, and now it just sits in a random park looking out of place.
I've seen that cottage. I think it's in the same. Is it in the park that Paul Kelly name checks in one of his? So I mean, again, Paul Kelly, Melbourne, just like this. Okay, that's why they got so they got so high on the Paul Kelly score, Melbourne. That's why they climbed the rankings every.
And I've seen Paul Kelly
year.
live probably 3 times since I've been in Melbourne. You don't even have to try. You just like fall over and there's Paul Kelly doing us singing when I first met your ma.
I think that's the song. We walk through Fitzroy Gardens. Is it in Fitzroy Gardens?
Yeah.
Where is Captain Cook's Cottage? Is it in Fitzroy Gardens? Yes. And there she looked so pretty and dangerous. Okay, I want to say number 2, Vienna. Been to Vienna, John? Have you had a Vienna coffee?
I've had a Vienna coffee. Yeah.
Has topped the list 8 times in total. Now stuck at number 2 behind the city that we're going to reveal soon. Its superpower, 60% partly over stability score. Residents live in subsidized social housing, so rent is famously reasonable.
That's nice.
Says here. Interesting.
Okay. Have you ever been there?
I have been there, but again, not for 20 years. I was there in 2007. And again, it's kind of, I find it silly. It's so close. I'm going to write this down I have a little list of places I should go on holiday. Yeah. Vienna. It's going to cost me nothing at all. And I can get a horse-drawn cart.
Yeah, that's what I'm learning from Google image search. You see some nice rooftops.
Gustav Klimt's The Kiss.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Now, John, coming to the
climax.
Coming in at number 1, and we have a very special treat for the number 1 spot on the top 10 most livable cities of 2026. I'm going to have it announced by a resident of this very city for, I believe, if not the entirety of her life, very close to the entirety of their lives. Can you announce, please, who you are and what is the number 1 most livable city of 2026?
My name is Sarah, and the most livable city of 2026 is Copenhagen.
Yes, you said it with a very beautiful, very slight hint of Danish accent, which I loved. Sarah, thank you so much. Have you lived there your entire life? So Sarah's a friend of mine, everybody. Who I've known for many years. Have you lived in Copenhagen your whole life?
I grew up
slightly outside?
A bit outside and moved there here about 17 years ago now.
Cool. So I'm gonna run you through. I'm gonna read to you, Sarah, a little bit about what the BBC said about Copenhagen. You can tell me. They've asked somebody about Copenhagen, and they've said, you can bike to work, jump in the harbour after, and be home for dinner. It's not a special day. It's just a Tuesday, said Laura, an MD and a PhD student who has lived in the city for 8 years. That combination of cycling infrastructure, swimmable urban water, and a genuine... I've swam with you, Sarah, in the water there, which was an absolute treat. Bikeable... Yeah, and of course, Sarah, she says she takes any neighbor to the beautiful neighborhood of, I'm going to pronounce this terribly, Norbro,
That's where I live.
to start off with. Yes, of course. I've only got the hippest of friends. It says, Sarah, you tell me if you think this is true. We got greengrocers, kebab shops, and gold shops sit next to sourdough bakeries, natural wine bars, and small dinner spots. Is that your life?
That is exactly what I see on the bike home from work every day.
I think you've said to me you don't have any desire to move. I mean, it seems like a pretty amazing city to live, and every time I speak to you and you're, because this is like an experience that I didn't really have growing up in Adelaide. I always felt like I needed to get out and see the world, and so I always am very interested to hear from people who find cities that they either grew up in or grew up very close to and just remain in them.
Yeah. No, I never had. I was thinking about moving to Berlin at some point when we were like very big friend group down there. But But no, I just love it here. It's so calm, and like as you said, you can jump in the harbor and bike to work, and that's exactly what I'm doing all summer. Yeah, so I'm loving it.
Yeah,
I'd love to be able to jump in the river here, well, in Melbourne, but you get a life-threatening ear infection if you try to do that.
and you've got the famous restaurant that everyone bangs on about.
Onoma.
Oh yeah,
I've never been, so I can't give a review on that.
Is it true? I did some kind of reading on the hop, and this caught my eye. Sidewalk trampolines. Are you familiar with sidewalk trampolines?
Yeah. In some parts of I think it's mostly in the inner city. They're like kind of like small squares somewhere where they put in like trampolines on the ground, and you can jump on them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes,
there you go.
There's a sense of playfulness that I love about those Danes. Grab a Carlsberg, bounce down the sidewalk. You're living life. You're living life right.
Just bounce and somersault into the canal. Man, that's a great day out.
Perfect scores for stability, education, and infrastructure. I didn't know this, Sarah. Started as a Viking fishing village, and now has more bikes than people. I mean, I always remember visiting, and there's one train station where there's just like a shitload of bikes that everybody parks. And I was like, this is incredible. I've never seen anything like this.
I think everyone lost a bike at that train station as well at some point. And like, you can never find it.
Yeah.
So
what would you say is one of, compared to other places that you've spent time, Sarah? I mean, I guess it's home for you, but what do you think is one of your favorite things about Copenhagen when you finish work, or you're just walking around the streets, or you're sitting in your cool apartment looking out, watching me run the marathon, watching me run past your home in the Copenhagen marathon?
That was a good one. But I love, besides like the harbor and like being able to jump in the water. And we also actually have beaches in the city, which is also really nice.
Cool.
I love the parks. Like, I think you and I, Alex, once went to the cemetery as well. Yeah, and you can just build there.
And why do you always go to cemeteries, Al?
I love cemeteries, and I think you took me to. Did you take me? Is Kierkegaard's cemetery there?
Oh.
Like grave? 5 minutes from where I live. Yeah, in Nørrebro as well.
Yes, you'd love that, John.
I'd love that.
John is a massive Kierkegaard head. He's a big Kierk head.
I wrote a thesis on Kierkegaard about 25 years ago. So there you go. I'll have to go there.
Yeah.
Is that your apartment that you're beaming in from?
Yes, it is. It is.
It looks very cool. It looks like what I imagine a cool Danish apartment to look like.
Sarah was very kind and hosted me when I ran the Copenhagen Marathon a couple of years ago, and as I was resting in a beautiful, comfortable bed, I also had to contend with one of her neighbours who was singing karaoke, which I loved. Wow. It helped me run a PB. Was that slight lack of sleep from one of her neighbours just singing karaoke? And I said, "Damn it, this is a livable city right here." As the voice penetrated the walls. Cool. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us and being our Copenhagen #1. And congratulations, on winning the #1 most livable city.
Please give everyone our best.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks so much. Our impromptu Copenhagen guest bringing in
good sport.
The number. Representing Copenhagen so well. And now, John, this is what I've been waiting for the whole show. The bottom 10. So, John, get ready. Pack your bags. Because it's
an all-expense paid trip. Yeah.
Pack your bags. Pack one of those vests and helmets that say press very largely in very, very big text. 173. We have Damascus, Syria. I know a few people that have been to Syria actually before it got really hairy and said that it was like amazing and obviously...
Yeah, it's supposed to be beautifully, a beautiful and interesting place, but not
the history.
Not high on the stability index, I would imagine.
Not high on the stability. It's been so Damascus is last 4 years running through healthcare scores. Scores improved markedly since the Assad regime fell in December 2024. That's good news.
Yeah.
Damascus 173, 172 Tripoli, Libya. I don't know much about Libya. I don't hear a lot about Libya in my day-to-day life.
No.
Which is, I'm glad that I've seen it on this list because I probably would make the mistake and just go, oh yeah, it sounds pretty, I don't know anything about.
Sounds good.
I don't know anything about Tripoli. Sounds good.
when you're just doing I'm just going to do a weekend away wherever's cheapest. Oh yeah, it looks good.
Dhaka, Bangladesh, 171, 170. Karachi, Pakistan, 166. So we're actually going up here. These are improving slightly as we go through the list. I've not been here, but have been to this country in the last 5 years. Kiev, Ukraine, for obvious reasons. I do know somebody who lives in Ukraine currently. It lives in Kiev currently, which is wild when I speak to them about that. What day-to-day life
that's interesting
is like.
because it obviously used to be, like when I was living in Europe, I knew several people who went to Kiev, and it was not, it wasn't like a daring thing to do. It was just somewhere to visit, which is a sad thing.
How quickly things turn around, and suddenly you have to pay your executives way more money. It can just turn on a dime like that. Number 164, Tehran, Iran. Again, no surprises there.
No, but also somewhere that used to be, going back a ways, a very desirable place for, like on the hippie trail. People used to go to Tehran and and visit all the beautiful mosques.
Friend of the show, Harley's been to Iran, hasn't he? Did that in last
He has. Yeah, I know a couple of people who've been to Iran and said it was really beautiful. But yeah, it's obviously, and a lot of Americans, I think hundreds of thousands before the revolution, used to live there, business executives. But now you can't pay them enough risk money, sadly.
Yeah, and then also in the bottom 10, Algiers, Lagos. Harare. Where's Harare? Harare? Harare. Zimbabwe.
I think it's in Zimbabwe, yeah.
Okay, Harare, and then Port Moresby. Close out.
BNG.
Close out the bottom 10.
Well,
wouldn't take you too long to get to Port Moresby, John.
No, in fact, I was looking at a map of far north Queensland. Port Moresby is right over the water. It's very narrow, straight.
That's crazy.
Which is pretty wild.
Close.
But can I respectfully suggest to those bottom 10, hang in there. Things can turn around. Maybe try putting some trampolines in your footpaths. I don't know. Can't hurt. Sorry.
I want to say to Damascus, Syria, I think you could improve your trampoline frivolity down the main strip. You get a few points up. Get out of that block. Just try and avoid the wooden spoon next year, Damascus.
Exactly.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah. No, the footpaths were fun. Some room to improve in other respects.
We should also touch on Berlin versus Melbourne, John. Melbourne number 3, Berlin not even in the top 10. And yeah, I mean, that doesn't really surprise me too much. But again, this is that thing, isn't it? That, the criteria, it's not taking into account the caliber of the caliber of techno nightclub and DJ that you're getting in your city.
True.
It's not taking into account the
price of cigarettes,
the price of drugs, cigarettes, and alcohol being at rock bottom prices.
I did read an article during the week about Melbourne now ranking among the world's most expensive cities for cigarettes and alcohol, which is if that's your thing, then that you would not consider it livable.
If cigarettes, drugs, and alcohol,
you have to pay fucking $50 for a pack of Dunhills. You'd be like, livable my ass.
Other interesting points, John. No US city anywhere near the top. Interesting. The best is Honolulu at number 25. Wow. New York is at 66. So it's funny, isn't it? Because obviously,
the Jack Johnson effect.
The Jack Johnson effect, exactly. That brought it right. That acoustic sand-covered guitar just took Honolulu to number 25. It's funny, isn't it? Because New York's 66, and you just think, well, what are we doing here? Like, as if you wouldn't give your right arm to spend. Like, think about the cities that are under New York, that are higher than New York, and just how many of them you would choose New York over as a place to visit or live potentially yourself. And obviously your brother lives there.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And it's a wonderful city. I don't think any executive is going, we'll put you in an apartment in Greenwich Village, and they go, I've had a look at the list. Is there really nothing going in Brompton in Adelaide? No offense to my Adelaide people. I love it there. But, just get serious.
You don't have a Queen Street cafe in Brooklyn, so forget about it. Get me to Croydon now. Get me to Prospect Road. Get me to Bottega on Prospect Road. I can highly recommend Bottega on Prospect Road, by the way. It is a great little cafe. Shout out to Prospect Road, which is absolutely having a moment in the last few years. I mean, if there was a greatest roads in Australia list, right? Greatest road, most livable main streets in the world.
Yeah,
I would say maybe Prospect Road.
Most lovable rather than most livable.
Most lovable, yeah. Yeah, so I think that's the list, John. I think we've done that quite exhaustively. We had a special guest, and how did you feel about those cities? How do you feel about living in one of the most livable cities coming in number 4? Talk about Melbourne.
Yeah, dude, I feel grateful, but I think, come on, Melbourne, let's focus on being just that little bit less livable and kind of upping our cool slightly.
Yeah, that's true. What could you do? I mean, get the price of beer and cigarettes and drugs down for a start.
Exactly. Yeah.
What would you? Quite seriously, John. What's one thing that really grinds your gears about Melbourne? That if you were president of Melbourne, you would.
King of Melbourne.
If you were in the Flinders Street White House, what would you say? That you could, what's something that kind of irritates you a little bit?
Yeah, what irritates me, I think, is that livability has made people a little bit kind of wowzerish, which is an Australian term.
Yeah.
But, a little bit kind of skittish about any form of disorder or inconvenience, and they've sort of turned them into a bunch of sooks. Which is kind of what that article I brought up in the Irish Times is going to, that people are not used to adversity, and so they're very intolerant of it. I'm still engaged in a bit of a kind of, every time I go on Instagram, I get an update about how many likes and comments this comment I put on a Melbourne journalist's page gets. It's up to about 1,300 likes, which I'm quite proud of. But
that's mental.
But that was about this incident in Melbourne where graffiti artists sort of bundled onto a train, stopped the train by pulling, the emergency lever only for a few minutes so they could do a big piece, as they call it, on the side of the train. And all the comments are full of these, because it's all like, this woman's kind of in the talkback radio kind of world. So these are pretty sort of the people who think Melbourne's gone to the dogs and everything's fucked and we're all, we can't keep our doors open anymore and it's a disgrace and blah, blah, blah. So all the comments are like, well, what if somebody had gotten hurt and these people are just trying to get to work and blah, 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 blah. And I said, what happened to, well, I think my comment was like, it's just graffiti. When did people become such wowzers? And everyone's having a massive crack at me saying, maybe we'll do it to your house. Where do you tell us where you live? And I think just, let's bring it back to Melbourne of the 80s where there was just a bit more, there was smack on every corner and there was graffiti everywhere and people were scrambling. It wasn't very livable, but we're a little bit more fun and edgy. Let's bring a bit of that back.
I loved that you said, because you mentioned this. You mentioned this on the members only episode.
Yeah.
And this just had me laughing all week when you said you said that comment, and then people wrote in the comments, well, how would you like it if somebody came and did this where you live? And
yeah.
You said, I don't know if you commented this, but you just were jokingly saying that you replied, well, I live on the train that got graffiti. Yeah. So I thought
I live on the train that's been graffitied. No, I did comment that.
I'm already such a great reply. How would you like if this happened to where you live? You said, well, I live on the train that got graffitied. So I'm speaking from personal experience already. And I'm fine with it. It didn't affect me. So good. I would say for me, what makes the city quite livable actually is a small thing, and I think Copenhagen probably ticks this box, but I don't know how many of the others would. And that's being able to drink in public, and this is coming to you from somebody who drinks very little these days. Also, I'm not a big smoker, but you can also still smoke in bars and stuff in Berlin. And that
is nice.
Just having less rules. Maybe there's a less rules index, which would definitely take Australia down a few pegs.
Be fucking that's dead last.
That's something that's important to me because it creates an atmosphere in the city that allows for a kind of creativity.
Agreed.
And it creates a certain atmosphere when you can just have a beer on the street and there's not it's like not somebody's job to
wag their finger
fine you or arrest you or anything like that. It creates a tension when there's too many rules. So the fact that you just have a cigarette in a bar, have a beer. I mean, when I first moved to Berlin, this is one of my favorite stories ever. I went boot shopping in like a supermarket, and think of Westfield Shopping Centre, a clean, expensive mall basically, and I went shopping for boots in like a fancy store in the mall. I just had a half a liter of Heineken in my hand.
Wow.
I was just like talking to the shopkeeper with just a big green bottle of Heineken in my hand.
Man, that's great.
It was summer. We were having a great time. I think the salesperson said, give us a sip on that. Gave him a little sip. I said, can we just light up cigarettes in here? He said, not quite, but there is a lot of freedom, isn't there? I said, yeah, there is. And
nice.
So that's me. The can drink on the street and smoke in bars.
You just drained it with a beer bong, and you're like, how about now? I want those boots.
I just did beer bongs in Foot Locker when I was buying Nikes. Beautiful. Well, that's been a great episode, John. I've enjoyed that so much. Thank you so much to Sarah for popping in.
Thank you. That's lovely.
I texted her
during
mid-show.
the app.
Yeah, and said, hey, can you jump on? And she was like, yeah, quick as a flash. Beautiful. Also, John, I should also say, I did ask Claude if it knew the episodes that you'd mentioned being a sperm donor. Don't Praise the Machine episode 156, Junior Boost Junior. The whole episode centers on John's trip to a Sydney CBD clinic to produce a sample for IVF. Boomer phone. This is your whole family history here, John. Boomer phone habits. That episode, John announces the pregnancy here, calling back to the Sydney trips. DPTM 165, the Saints come streaming in. A brief callback. John references going into great depth with listeners about his recent trip to Sydney to get his boys tested. And
thanks, Claude.
Yeah. Thanks, Claude, for writing my entire family history. Beautiful. And John, if people want to sign up to the newsletter, how can they do that?
Yeah, if you just go to dptm.org, enter your email address, then you'll have it in your hot little hands very soon. And please do. It's a lovely way to become part of the DPTM community. It's a lovely way to stay in touch outside of the episodes with me and Al, hear about what we're doing, hear about thoughts that we're having go behind the headlines of the DPTM episodes and really get into that deep dive territory and feel part of the Don't Praise a community. So please join.
Thank you so much, everybody, and we can't wait to see you next week.
The podcast.